Welcome back to episode 39of Lepodcast. As always, you're here with Hoop, Saney, and the infamous CZ Huncho. There have been 14 games this NBA season where a player has gone over 50 points. That's uncanny. We're halfway through the year. I'm looking at the whole list right now. There's like 4 49-point performances, 48, 47, 47, 3 46s. You go down through like 30 or 40 games, and most of them are over 45 points. So that begs the question, is the NBA just getting better? Is this the best it's been? Does the defense suck? Initial thoughts, Z.
I do not think that the defense sucks. I don't. I think that basketball as a whole has evolved and is continuing to evolve. When you look back at the history books and like you look at the league in like the 90s per se, the legal defenses, hand checking, things like that, like the way in which the game is officiated on the defensive end has changed, but I don't think that it's changed to a point where it makes scoring itself easier. Looking at the game from when we were in middle school to how it's evolved since that time, the evolution of the three-point shot has been very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Relied upon.
Prominent.
Very prominent and prominent and relied upon by not just the people that have made it like lethal, like the Warriors, but teams like we just talked about in the last episode, the Houston Rockets used it to their advantage. And you can just see just kind of how individual talent has just evolved. When we were in middle school, I just made a TikTok about this. When we were in middle school, when you were asking who the best player in the world was, 95% of the time it was LeBron James. The other 5% was either 2016 Steph or Kevin Durant in one of those years. But for the most part, it was LeBron James. You ask a bunch of people, it's LeBron. Now, I physically cannot answer that question, and it's making me mad because every night someone is just one-upping someone else. I thought Luka's 60-20-10 game was incredible. Then Donovan Mitchell dropped 71 points. People are like, oh, he had 20 free throws. He had 71 points. Like, if you watch the game, the Cavs weren't even supposed to win that game. Like,
Bro,
what do you mean?
If you watch the overtime, I was running around my house.
Bro,
I was running around my house.
If I'm not mistaken, he hit 3 straight threes.
Yes.
And these are like heat check threes in OT. Like, oh my God, it looked like 2K. I'm not even joking. And then point back to LeBron. Bro had 240 pieces back to back at the age of 45. Like, bro's doing his thing. Kevin Durant and the Nets, I talked about it. They were on a 12-game win streak until last night. But Durant was averaging 30, and when you look at his shooting splits compared to the league average for mid-ranges and shots in the paint and even long twos, he is literally destroying the league average. Like, it is insane. Jokic statistically is just continuously having like the greatest statistical seasons you could ask for a center, to the point where we're going to be looking at him in 20 years as top 5, top 4, top 3. Like, it's insane. So I think that it's a mix of individual talent and the evolution of the game itself, to the point where players are like a Donovan Mitchell, taking advantage of what the defense has given them. If Donovan Mitchell went to, like, if you look at the game, he went to the free throw line a lot, but that was partly because the Chicago Bulls could not stay in front of him. Not to mention the fact that he was distributing the ball as well, to the point where he was just literally throwing the defense off. So it's a matter of on any given night, any of the stars or superstars can go absolutely wild. And I think that we're living in the best time of basketball. So that's my thoughts.
I'm gonna disagree with Z here. I'm gonna disagree with your main point. I don't disagree with anything you said that backed the point.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right in terms of, players. It's a different league. We're stepping into a new era. It's completely different than, just for reference for you listeners, if this is your first episode, middle school was like what?
2015, 2016.
2015, 2014, like that. Yeah. So it's definitely changed for sure. And before I start going at the first point you made, guys like Kevin Durant, like you said, like averaging 30 points a game. If you're watching these games, they're not playing, like most of the time they're not playing the fourth because they're blowout wins. Like, for example, Kyrie shot 9 for 10 in the first half against, I think it was the Spurs, the game before they just lost, and he ended the game with 28 points because, like, they were up by, like, 40, right? So it's like we haven't even tapped into how many potential 50-point games we could have seen, because there's a lot of guys that aren't playing the full game. There's a lot of guys who are just dropping buckets, and they don't end up playing the full game because it's just blowout wins. Teams don't want to spam their star players. But that should just give you an idea that the league isn't even going try hard right now. So come playoff time, as great as the basketball we're seeing right now, it's only going to get even better. Going back to my first point, though, Z, I don't think it's the offense is getting better. It is, but I don't think it's a case that the defense doesn't suck. I think the defense is getting worse. I think the defense is definitely getting way worse. I think it's harder for defenders in this era to defend players while I do agree, obviously it's evolved offensively, I feel like a lot of the rule changes have made it harder for defenders to also evolve in the same way that players have evolved offensively. We have not seen a huge step in players defensively the same way we've seen it offensively. Now, does that mean their defense sucks? Well, if you compare it to 5 years ago, no. But how life works is you got to keep going forward. You got to keep getting better. The defense is getting better, and the offense is getting much better. Much better. Defense and offense might have been, around here a couple years back. Offense is going up, defense is staying the same. That's the issue. I'm not seeing any standout defenders who night in, night out are stopping superstars like that. We have not seen a defender who is consistently holding the team's number one option night in and night out to a bad game. We aren't.
Can you name me someone that was doing that back in the day?
Tony Allen. Off the top of my head.
First team all defense.
Just off the top of my head. And I can't just name off names, but I have to go back. But I do vividly remember there being much more prominent defenders. And to their credit, it was a lot easier back in the day with all these new rule changes, no hand checking. Nowadays foul calling has been a little, better because the NBA did change its rules a bit. But, free throws are a lot more common nowadays. Like, it is a lot easier for a player to drop 50 points on someone, granted. But defenders are not as good compared to the league as they were before.
I am going to disagree with that. I think defenders are just as good. You could say the rule changes are going against them, but if I look at
I don't think so. I think they're lazier. I think they're lazier on defense.
They're lazier in the regular season, but that's a point. That's a good point. But I'm looking at the Boston Celtics.
But we're talking regular season. I said playoff time is a completely different set of basketball. That's what I said. I said playoff time is a completely different set of basketball. But Z said that defense doesn't suck. It's just the offense is getting better. No, you can be as great as a defender as you want it to be. But like I said, at the levels, offensively, they're bringing it up here. Defense is staying down here. Like I said, my point, they're keeping the defense down here.
Even if you go back to 2018, offense was still this new philosophy that people were trying to. There's a lot of guys who were slacking defensively back then.
Not close to what we're seeing to this age. Not close to what we're seeing this age. Not even close. Not close to what we're seeing nowadays. It has gotten much lazier. It is so much easier. For example, in OT, Donovan Mitchell. Yes, he hit some crazy threes, but it's as if the Bulls let him score 70 at the end of it.
Well,
they just let him. They gave him the foul. Let him just shoot threes. Put one person on him. If I'm the Bulls,
those were tough shots.
Yes, they were. But I would be doubling that man. I would not let him touch 70.
They were doubling him.
They weren't. Bro,
right,
those threes he was taking. Those he checked threes.
The one three he took to start OT. Was he came off like a curl. It was a one-on-one situation. The guy didn't have time to come over and double. He had the in and out, the step back three. That's a tough shot.
Right. Okay.
The next one was a pull-up when two guys were coming to crash. This was at the right wing. And he pulled up from 2 feet behind the line. I don't think that this is... I feel like they wouldn't play. If there's not a lot of coaches that tolerate that stuff.
Right. That's another thing. That was another thing I was about to get to was the coaches. When you look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets, for example, when they had Steve Nash, we were talking about how their defense was completely non-existent, but they get one coaching change, no trades or anything like that, one coaching change with Jacques, and Kevin Durant's out there being the enforcer for the defensive end like we've never seen before. Nick Claxton is the biggest guy for me. Claxton, for the longest, I was like, what is his role on this team? Is he going to be a rebounder? Is he going to be an interior defender? All these things. When Jacques comes in, we looked at the Nets and we said, you can't get it done defensively if your only defensive weapon is Ben Simmons, and that's the only thing you're utilizing. So the Nets, what they've done is Jacques has instilled this switching defense, right, where teams are using, pick and rolls, and the Nets are switching everything. And we saw in the playoffs last year with the Boston Celtics with Ime Udoka, switching everything was their bread and butter. Miami Heat last year in the playoffs, switching everything was their bread and butter. That's why they completely locked down Trae Young in that series. So I think that, and another thing too, I saw this. I don't know if y'all saw this play. Y'all should have. It was on Basketball Forever, and sideline sources, but it was Davion Mitchell on the Kings, locking up 4 out of the 5 players in that half court just from effort. So I think another thing is that for Sandy's point, certain guys aren't giving effort like on the defensive end like we would expect, unless push comes to shove, their backs against the wall, and they got to change up something. Case in point, the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant specifically. Durant's talking about how the team is not doing what they need to do offensively, and the defense is just as bad. If you have your leader, your best player, going out there and giving effort, other guys are going to give effort. Other guys are going to become more comfortable in their roles defensively and offensively. And I think that's been the biggest thing for the Nets in terms of success-wise. But I do think that, to Sandy's point, when we looked back 5-6 years ago at the league, I just watched this Andre Roberson video, right? Kawhi Leonard, for the longest, was looked at and hailed as the best defender in the game for many years. And when I was a kid, I was like, okay, well, who else is a really good defender? Andre Roberson was a great defender. The only reason that he didn't get talked about was because he was a shy kid. He was a shy dude. And of course,
well, he also sucked on offense. It's like
he did. He
had no bag. He had no bag.
He could not shoot at all. Oh my God! But I'm saying, when we're looking at him as a defender, it's like it's one of those things where like a Patrick Beverly. Patrick Beverly, for some reason, Russell Westbrook, I'm gonna use this quote. Patrick Beverly tricked y'all, man. Came into LA supposedly as the saving grace for 3-point shooting. He's been ass. But defensively, he's always been known as a defensive juggernaut, a defensive engine, right? And so when you look at other guys who are looked at defensively, most of the guys in the league that are looked at defensively nowadays, most of them are hated because of the fact that they play defense. Draymond Green, Patrick Beverly, even Ben Simmons. The only reason that Ben Simmons was hated was because he didn't have an offensive bag. And now we realize he doesn't need to have that big of an offensive bag to impact his team, and now his defense is more and more appreciated. So I think that to Sandy's credit again, when we look back at the 2000s, right, we talk about how the early 2000s was the best defensive era in basketball. Well, there was a lot of guys back then that were playing very, very great defense. Tony Allen, one of the guys that he mentioned. Kobe was a great two-way guy. Duncan, even Shaq.
Ginobili,
the Kobe stopper, even. Like, you had guys that were literally being dubbed other names because of their defense. I completely forgot what the guy's name was. I just know him as the Kobe stopper and the dude that Kobe hit 2 tough shots over. But I forget his name. Hopefully one of y'all can figure it out for me. But just the way that defense is looked at in today's game, I think it's at a moment where it's like, okay, one guy could be hailed as the best perimeter defender, but then you look at a guy like Rudy Gobert, who is a great and one of the greatest interior defenders of our generation, if not all time. But over time, if that isn't resulting into winning basketball, I feel like fans are just like, no, Rudy's overrated, Ben's overrated, Draymond's like, it's just, it's one of those things I don't think is as appreciated as it once was, but it's because guys like Kawhi have gotten a step slow. Kawhi, when we were in middle school and high school, was the best defender in the league, and we can still make a case for him nowadays, but it's like he doesn't really give the same amount of effort that he used to give.
I feel uneasy about all this. The defense sucks because I feel like the offense has just gotten so good that it's harder to defend. I think the defenders are still giving a good amount of effort. Mm-hmm. You could point out possessions where, for example, LeBron James a lot of time just walk back on defense. I don't like any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But if you were to, we watched a full game in New York, and they were playing solid defense, I thought. I mean, obviously the point totals. What are you talking about? Sandy's giving me that look.
Wasn't it a blowout?
The Knicks did play good. I'm not saying they played terrible defense, but a lot of it just came from Landry Shamet missed open threes, Suns players not hitting their shots. Like, the Suns just shot terribly that night. That wasn't great defense. That was more the Suns having an off night for me.
I'm just saying,
I don't think it was a result. I think the Knicks had some great defensive moments. Mitchell Robinson's block, Quentin Grimes' block. They played great. But we're referring to the Knicks-Suns game on January 2nd, for anybody wondering.
That's the one where
I think it was a matter
viral for his granny shots.
Yeah. I think that was more of a case of the Suns missing shots. There was a lot of open shots from their shooters, and they were not knocking them down. I think that's more of a reason.
There are just not a lot of it's hard to watch a full game and say that this team is as a team not giving full effort on defense. Aside from a couple every season, like it's difficult for me to watch 2 games and say that one team like from another era say that the defense is significantly worse. It's just the bigs are getting out to the perimeter now. It's hard. It's so much harder to defend.
I think another thing too. I was watching the Warriors Pistons game last night. I hate you, Sadiq Bey, but that game, Klay Thompson ended the night shooting 48% from the field. But if you look at the first 3 quarters of that game, bro was getting clamped by the Pistons. I mean, they were Bojan Bogdanovic, my man. He had 29 last night. He was face guarding Klay, following him around. Like this is what you expect when you're going up against a shooting team like the Warriors. But with Klay Thompson being the best shooter on the floor, the Pistons were playing excellent defense on him for 3 quarters. And then Klay just started hitting some crazy stuff in the 4th and went nuclear. But I mean, watching the game, I remember saying by the start of the 4th quarter, I was like, damn, Klay's shooting like 5 of 15, 6 of 16, something like that. The Pistons were holding their own. They were watching the off-ball screens. They were double teaming him when he got the ball. They were double teaming him off of screens, trying to make him be a passer, running him off the 3-point line. Like even with Jordan Poole, they were doing the same thing. So it's like certain teams, when you're playing great team defense, and I'm watching the game, and I'm genuinely like, it's one of those things where people will look at the box score after a game and be like, oh, he shot terrible. But in a lot of ways, if you go back and look at the damn game, like the team was playing great defense and keening in on this one particular player who they thought could go for 30 or 40 or something like that. Because in today's day and age, anybody can go for 30 or 40 on any given night.
Right.
So it's just insane. But for me, I think go ahead, Sandy, go ahead.
Sorry. And just to like kind of back up my point here on the whole defense is getting worse. If you look at the defensive ratings of the 2010s compared to nowadays, defensive rating, for those viewers who don't know, it's basically how many points allowed per 100 possessions as a team. Going from 2010 to 2015, the defensive ratings have always been, the highest it's been from 2010 to 2015 was 107, and that was in 2009, 2010, and it stayed between 105 to 107. Compared to nowadays, you're seeing 115 to 117. So they're allowing an extra 10 points per 100 possessions in this era compared to I wouldn't even consider the 2010s the era before us. I think like and eras, we still have players from that generation who are dominating this day and age. I think we still have another 5-10 years before we call this new wave of NBA the new era. Once I stop seeing Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, those guys turning up, making all NBA teams, I'm still calling it the same era, right? You are seeing defensive ratings get significantly worse over time. And yes, offensively, players are getting much, much better. I am not disagreeing with you guys whatsoever. And I'm not saying the defense, like I said beforehand, I'm not saying the defense is worse compared to what it was 5 years ago. I'm just saying the defense is not adapting to this new offensive game. It's not evolving.
And I'm just
offense has evolved.
I'm just arguing that's impossible because I'm looking at the Celtics last year.
It's not impossible. Hold up. Things have to evolve. Humans evolve.
Well,
the game has to, but
it's
not impossible.
It's not impossible, but I'm looking at the Celtics of last season, and I'm using the postseason because that's when we say defense turns up. That Celtics defense against the Nets was some of the best defense I've seen in my personal lifetime. The Boston Celtics of last season. Kevin Durant was supposedly locked up, which he played awful. But in the game 4, he had 39. The 2 other Nets players had above 20. This was in a game where they only scored 112 points. Before that game, Kevin Durant or Bruce Bowen had like 26 points. If you look at all these games, like someone is going to have a statistically good night. If you don't look at the shooting percentage, you just look at the point totals. Kevin Durant went 4 for 17, still had 27 points in game 2. In game 1, he had like 29. I'm sorry. Let me look.
Kevin Durant shot. He had 39, but he shot 13 for 31.
I'm saying if you just look at the point totals, like Kyrie Irving had 39.
No, but we're looking.
1.
Sure. But we're not like. Here's the thing with
was that not the best defense
for example,
you've seen, though?
Donovan Mitchell dropped the most.
Defense?
Donovan Mitchell dropped the most efficient 70 piece that I didn't think it was possible. 22 for 31 was it? These players are scoring 50 on above 50% shooting. That's the difference. If you're scoring 39, shooting 13 for 31, I'm not going to call it a bad night, but it's not inefficient. That's not crazy to me.
But
if you're shooting
that
31
would
shots,
be the highlight of the night.
That's
back
different.
In 5-6 years ago.
Right.
And I'm saying the defense is just trying to keep up, and it's not. I just feel like you're saying it's a lack of effort thing, When I think it's more of it's impossible to keep up. I think it's really impossible.
I don't think it's impossible to keep up.
I think the refs whistle, it's impossible to keep up.
For example, when the Bulls, when the Michael Jordan Bulls, Phil Jackson, what would they run? 24/7. Triangle offense, right? It seemed impossible to stop. Look at it a few years later. He tries it with the Knicks. What happened? What happened? Seriously, anything that seems impossible to stop is never impossible. It just seems impossible in the moment because it's your first time seeing it and you're like, wow, this is insane. There is no way somebody can stop this. There is no way. But guess what? Something comes up. And that's why I'm saying offensively, the game has evolved. We are waiting for the game to defensively evolve so that now offensively they have to take another step. It has happened. It is a trend in the NBA. There's always a new wave of basketball and there's always another way to stop it. That's why there's another wave that comes in. That's why that's why Steph Curry revolutionized the three-point game because guess what? Nobody knew how to guard that. Nobody knew how to guard that.
And there has to be Sorry.
What?
I just think that's an awful take considering that they were trying to guard
I don't think
Michael
it's awful.
Jordan. They were trying to guard Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen.
Okay, Carmelo Anthony.
Compared to Carmelo Anthony, Derrick Rose, and Kristaps Porzingis? What are we talking about?
It wasn't just that.
Oh,
it was from 2013 to whatever the Knicks were till now. Or till when they ended.
They were not running the triangle in 2013.
I remember
Phil Jackson.
2015. It was an old Melo, Kristaps Porzingis as a rookie, and Derrick Rose off his injuries. We are not saying that is the same to guard as Michael Jordan. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. That is completely different.
Just saying.
Okay, so Sadie, I got a question. I like what you're saying about the defense evolving. So with like certain things like the high volume in 3-point shooting. If you're a coach and we're moving forward, throughout the years and 3-point and you're trying to just nip that in the bud for a second in order for your team to win. What type of defenses do you think we're going to be
I don't have the answer. I didn't say I don't have the answer.
When they eventually stop it, they're going to be stopping this knockoff Steph Curry instead of Steph Curry. It's hard to stop Steph Curry. No one's stopping the Warriors. No one's stopping the Bulls.
But
you
Steph
can stop the Knicks, even though they're running the same system. But you can stop a worse team that's running the same system. We see it all the time today.
Steph Curry's not the one dropping 50 every night. We're seeing it's as if every single number 1, number 2, number 3 option on any NBA team can drop 50 a night. It's not Steph Curry back to back to back to back. I'm not talking about only stopping Steph Curry. I'm talking about the NBA as a whole. You guys are bringing up superstars right now. I'm talking about the NBA as a whole. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander drops 40 every other night. I'm not saying you guys have to understand. I'm talking about go look at the players that have dropped 40, 50, even 30. It's just what is going on? Why is everybody and their mama having a 30-piece every second night?
Because
seriously,
the league is just
bro, there is 6
skilled.
different players averaging 30 points per game. Last time I checked, I will double check that. I checked that a week ago. It might have dropped, but there was 6 different players averaging 30 points per game. That is the most in NBA history.
Yeah.
That is the most in NBA history. That is the most in NBA history. 6 different players averaging 30 points per game. We used to see maybe 1 or 2 players do that. Maybe.
No, it's still 6. KD's 29.9. That's still 6.
So it dropped a little. That's what I mean. It might have dropped a little, but 29.9. Yeah. Oh, okay. If he drops 33 tomorrow, it's going to be back up to 30. Whatever.
That's crazy.
The game, I'm not arguing with you guys. I'm not saying that defense sucks compared to 5 years ago. I'm saying the defense needs to start evolving in order to catch up with the offense.
Of course, but
if the offense keeps exponentially evolving like this, we're gonna start seeing games averaging 170 points per game, 160 points per game. That's gonna be normal, bro. The Thunder without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Celtics had everybody healthy except for Robert Williams. The Thunder had 150 points dropped on the Celtics. They beat in the 21st century. We have never seen a team with more than 5 players have 20 points in the same game. The Thunder, without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, did that. And you're telling me there isn't an issue with defense. The Thunder, without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they had Tatum, they had Brown, they had everybody. And you're telling me the Thunder dropped the most points in their franchise's history, and for the first time in the 21st century, have more than 5 players score 20 points on a single team. And this is not, come on. Come on. That is ridiculous to me. What happened defensively that game? Granted, I didn't get to watch it because I was busy traveling, and I came back home, and I was tired. Mm-hmm. What happened?
Marcus Smart did get ejected. That's the only thing I remember happening.
What quarter did he get ejected?
I think the second or
third.
third.
I didn't watch the game either.
Second or third.
But do you see what I mean? Like, that's
I
ridiculous.
see what you mean.
Yeah,
Like,
Marcus,
the
you go
offense
look
is
at
clear. The offense is clearly ahead of defense, like by a wide margin.
That's what I
Right,
mean.
right.
But beforehand it was a lot closer. That's
I
my point.
think
The offense is growing exponentially, and I get what you mean. It's a lot harder. It's a lot easier for the offense to evolve than the defense. Sure, but the defense still needs to start stepping it up because, bro, we're gonna start seeing teams average 150 points a game. That we're leading to that point.
If
The
you were
Thunder,
to-
without
if you were
Shai
to
Gilgeous-Alexander, a bunch of 22-year-olds who were drafted out of the lottery, are doing that to the team that just went to the finals. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous to me. That is ridiculous.
I don't even
So
know
if you were
why.
to put like the best defenders of the last 5-10 years on one team, like what do
Okay.
you think they'd hold today's
Well,
NBA
that's
team to?
different because you still need some offensive firepower.
So
You'd have to
But
have
I'm just
how
saying,
two-way
I'm
guys.
just saying,
impossible, 'cause you
defensively,
have-
two-way players. Like, I'm just saying, I don't have the answer to it, but I'm saying that there needs to be an evolution in the game, or else
There
it's just
needs to be.
basketball's
I'm
gonna
saying-
start-
I'm saying
basketball's
the
gonna start
effort is
being
there.
boring to watch.
I'm
Imagine
saying the
basketball's
effort
gonna
is
start being
there.
boring to watch.
I feel like
it's
you're
gonna be
saying the
it's gonna
effort
be
isn't
common. It's gonna be common to see guys go for like 60-65% field goal percentage every night. That's gonna be common soon. That's going to be common. And to me, back then, what was the average in field goal percentage? I don't have it off the top of my head. It had to have been below 50%. There's no way the average of field goal percentage was over 50% back then. We're gonna start trending to a point where it is going to be, and that's not fun to watch. Having no idea. It's just buckets after buckets after buckets after
I
buckets.
looked
That's
this
cool
up
watching
earlier.
every now and then. It's cool watching every now and then.
gonna look like the
Bro,
All-Star game
Come
out
on,
there.
literally, it's gonna be the All-Star game every day, bro. Like nobody wants to see
Yeah,
that.
the league average in field goal percentage has risen from I believe 45 to 47% since 2016. That's correct. Yeah.
See, that's yes, that's and it's
And
going
the
to
three
keep
the three
exponentially
point
rising.
the 3-point percentage has stayed the same when the attempts have gone up mightily.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. That's
I don't
crazy.
think it's
not-
crazy.
It's getting
It's crazy in the
boring.
sense that like if you look at it without looking at the players, it's nuts. But when I look at the players, I see Costa Koufis getting meaningful minutes in 2016 when he would be nowhere near an NBA franchise court today. Like it's just the talent.
Well,
has
he was playing on the
evolved.
Kings. He was playing on the Kings.
Oh my gosh.
The Kings in
You
2016
get what I
were
mean,
different.
bro.
Were different.
They were
bad.
there were
They
just so
different
many
bad.
like.
But I get what you mean, 100%. But let me bring up this point as well. The number one thing, what do people say about Westbrook? What's the one thing people say about Westbrook?
Aim
Oh,
for
it
the
doesn't matter
rim.
that he got a triple-double. Triple-doubles don't mean
Empty-
anything anymore,
empty
right?
stats.
Empty stats, sure. 15 years ago, if somebody got a triple-double, what would it be like? Whoa,
My
triple-double,
God.
whoa. Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Just let me finish my point, right? It's the same thing with these point scores. If I saw DeMar DeRozan score 40-plus in that same game as Donovan Mitchell and I didn't take a second look, I did not care. When I see somebody drop 40, I don't care anymore. It's not impressive to me anymore. It's as if it's like it doesn't matter. It's empty stats to me now because you could still draw. Like it's the same thing. It should get the same treatment as what we've given the triple double because we saw the triple double so much, and now when you get a triple double, I'm just like, oh, cool, bro. Giannis had 30, 21, and 10, and you know what my first thought was? Luka just did the same thing with 60.
That was
Luka
that,
just did
that
the
was
same
my
exact
first
thing with
thought, too.
60.
And they
That was
beat
my
the
first-
Knicks by like 2 points. Like,
And
it's
they
all,
beat
it's
the-
about. It's always been about.
No,
the
and they beat the
W's
Raptors, and
my
to
God,
your
did y'all
point, they
watch
beat
that
the
game?
Raptors by 3. The Giannis beat the Raptors by 3, and they
had, like,
fumbled a
12
21-point lead in the
turnovers.
last 3
Yeah.
minutes.
That was the
It's not
worst
impressive to me.
game
So that's what I'm saying. It's like scoring and like it's like, bro, it's getting boring. Like I don't want to go look at the highlights if I see somebody drop 40. Oh, I want to go see how he did. Oh, I want to go watch that. I don't care anymore. I find it hilarious. I'm like, oh, did he shoot over 50%? Oh, he didn't shoot over 50%. That sucks. Cool.
He's got
Cool.
a point because I was watching this video the other day, and somebody was talking about Nikola Jokic and how they started to wonder if Nikola Jokic was becoming overrated. And then they said that they asked their dad, and their dad was like, no, are you actually watching the game? So then the guy said he sat and he watched 2 straight Nuggets games, and he realized that he almost fell for the trap of when players are so consistently dominant, it gets boring. So when you look at Nikola Jokic, who's won 2 back-to-back MVPs, half the times I have to hit myself upside my head and be like, damn, our league MVP is still Nikola Jokic. But Nikola Jokic hasn't fallen off at all. If anything, he's just continuously gotten better and better.
I think he's still gotten better this year.
Exactly. His team
100%,
is starting
100%.
to win games to a point where they're neck and neck fighting other teams and pushing teams away from the 1 seed in the West. And we're looking at Nikola Jokic's game, and I'm like, I can't believe that I even thought about being bored with it. I can't believe I even thought about calling him overrated or saying, oh, here we go again. The amount of talent that's around Jokic, it's crazy enough that people would literally just be like, oh, nah, well, Jokic is going crazy, but I'm more of a Giannis guy. I'm more of a Joel guy. I'm more of a Donovan Mitchell guy. I'm more of a Luka guy. Hey, Steph hasn't been playing, but he was dominating with it. I'm more of a Steph guy. It's insane the amount of talent that is going on in the league to the point where some guys' numbers might get overlooked, and it's not even their fault. They're out there shooting. Jokic is shooting 62% from the field. His true shooting percentage is all-time great. All-time great, especially considering the fact that that when you look at where he is in the rankings, I think he's like 5 or 6, but the guys that are around him in the true shooting range are guys that get their points from alley-oops and dunks. Like they don't like it's Nick Claxton and Brandon Clark and Clint Capella and freaking Rudy Gobert. Like it's like when you look at who's in that talent pool with him, he is clearly a better scorer than all of those guys. It's just his efficiency is that damn good. Like, that's insane to me. So the talent is just insane. And I've never seen a scoring season like this in my life.
Okay. I want to fade away from this topic because I want to head into our next topic. But I want to say this. I want to finish off with this. And I want to double down on what I said. Because I hate, not you guys, but I don't want, a viewer to take what I said the wrong way. I don't mean that defenders are worse compared to defenders back then. I 100% believe guys like OG, guys like, the Rudy, like all those top defenders in this league, you put them in 15, 10 years ago, whenever, they're still going to be one of the best defenders in the league. I'm a firm believer of that. I just believe that defensively, teams, players need to start looking into evolving defensive schemes, trying new things, because clearly what they're doing isn't working. We can agree on that. As hard as it is to defend, it's not working. And if something's not working, you need to fix it. We are headed to a point where I'm not even going to want to watch regular season basketball because when something happens so much, you stop caring. It's not exciting anymore. It isn't. If I see a 40-point game tonight, and I guarantee you there will be one, or a 30-point game, I'm going to be like, cool. I don't care. Guys like De'Aaron Fox, who was having a great season, I don't even consider him. I consider him to be like the bottom of like the wild card in an all-star game. That's how crazy the league is right now, right? Which leads into my next segment, the significance of the All-NBA. I want a star beside every player who got an All-NBA selection this season, because this is going to be the most meaningful All-NBA teams we have ever seen ever. The talent in this league is absolutely ridiculous. And I hate the fact that, let's say, off the top of my head, De'Aaron Fox misses an All-NBA selection, which he probably will, which is wild to think about because his stats show that he would be even second team like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. But a guy like De'Aaron Fox, winning basketball games, having a great season, efficiency, I'm pretty sure he's still leading the league in clutch points in the fourth, right? Demon, absolute dog. If you compare him to a guy who has received an All-NBA selection, let's say 10 years ago. For example, actually, you know what? I shouldn't use De'Aaron Fox. Let me use a center. Let me use a guy like Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert or anybody like that, and you compare him to dudes like Joakim Noah, who was first All-NBA team. First. Think about that. But a guy like Joel Embiid, Jokic is 100% going to get first All-NBA team. Embiid's not going to because Jokic exists. So you're telling me if you were to compare players from the past and present, present, imagine bringing up the point where I'm just saying one of them won't make it.
No one's talking
about
Embiid, man.
No
100%, and that's another point.
No one's talking about Joel Embiid,
NBA is too talented. But listen.
Crazy.
A guy like Joakim Noah has a first All-NBA team selection, right? Embiid is probably, if Embiid has one, it's probably going to be the only one he gets as long as Jokic is in the league. Because Jokic is so, it's ridiculous how good Jokic is that it's just unfair. But now when you compare players who have received All-NBA selections in years prior compared to players now who might get snubbed from even the All-Star team, guys like Jeff Teague was an All-Star in 2015. Compared to nowadays. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like, bro, if you are an all-star and all-NBA player in the 2020s, hats off to you. Hats off to you. That should be worth 5 all-star appearances in the 2000s 5 All-NBA selections in the 2000s. Like, come on,
I love
bro.
throwing the random stray at Jeff Teague.
Oh God,
No. Like, hey,
That's
respect to
crazy.
Jeff Teague. Respect to Jeff Teague. I'm not hating on Jeff Teague at all. Great player. But you guys see what I mean? Like, imagine a guy like Jeff Teague has an All-Star selection, and a dude like De'Aaron Fox may never get one.
It is a shame.
But would you put Jeff Teague over De'Aaron Fox all time?
All right, no.
No.
It's-
you know what I'm trying. You see the point I'm
Yeah.
trying to make. You see the point I'm trying to make. It's like, bro, there's a lot of guys who on their resume will have All-Stars and All-NBAs, and granted, they deserved it. It was for their time. And I know a lot of people like to bring up, oh, eras were different, so you can't compare. Oh, you can't say the Bulls would beat the Warriors because different eras. Sure, I can 100% say I don't care about what era they were in. The players in this era, if they receive an award, it means much more than players who received an award in that era.
See,
it means much
You're
more.
right. And here's my thing too. You just brought up Jokic and Joel. I feel so bad for Joel Embiid because because the fact that we can't name two better centers off the top of our head and we just automatically go to Jokic and Joel, right? It's always Jokic and Joel. But when push comes to shove and it's award time, push comes like MVP time, Joel's been fighting so hard for the past few years to get this damn MVP. It reminds me of his teammate James Harden, who used to go through the same thing prior to 2018. Harden was going stupid, and you could see the case for him to win MVP, but it was just someone better. Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, like just give it to me, right? Pause. Anyway, Joel Embiid is averaging 34 points a game. If it wasn't for Luka Doncic being Luka Doncic, he'd be leading the league in scoring again for the second straight year. Like, think about that. Like, Joel's trying to get his flowers.
Bro, I didn't even think about
Right?
that. I didn't even think about that. The scoring title, imagine. You can what'd you say, 34?
He's averaging.
You can average
33.
You can average 33.5 points a game and not win the NBA scoring title. Imagine.
All because of Hookah Luka. Ain't that crazy? Bro, Luka's averaging 34.3 points per game. So if anything, it's gonna be neck and neck, and Joel's gonna be like, well, I can't win shit. Like, damn, I want something. That's actually Joel Embiid is actually going to have such a deprived NBA career in terms of accolades because of the era he played in. It's crazy, bro.
Joel Embiid can literally finish his career with 0 of everything, and I would still have the argument that he is a top 10 center of all time. I would still. If you bring up a ring, if you bring up an MVP, if you bring up an All-NBA selection, if you bring up a scoring title to any center that was playing in the 2000s prior, when comparing him to Joel Embiid,
right.
I'm gonna be like, bro, don't even bring that up.
Right.
Don't even bring that up, because I will sit with you season by season and compare you Joel Embiid to whatever center you want to bring up with him. And obviously, guys like Shaq and that, obviously they're better. I'm not saying that, but like you said, Z, that guy is getting deprived of an NBA career.
He's averaging the most points by a center since Shaq.
And he's not winning the scoring title.
And last year he squeezed it out, but this year I don't know. I genuinely don't know because
wasn't LeBron supposed to win it? And it was like last game LeBron didn't drop enough points. It was like neck and neck.
It was
oh
neck
my
and neck.
god!
And 2 years ago it was neck and neck between I think Bradley Beal, Steph, and something like it's just
Bradley Beal had like 30 and they gave it to him.
Hold up, we're talking
30.
We're talking crazy stats. I want to name off the stats of this one guy who is not getting any hype to be an all-star. 22.5 points a game on 49% shooting. 6 attempts from 3 a game on 45% three-point shooting.
Desmond Bane.
No, he's also averaging close to a steal and a block. 4 boards, 3 assists. This is Jeremy Grant, and he's not imagine having that kind of season and not being an all-star.
Oh, bro, can you bring up Anthony Simons? That's why you're at it. I'm gonna bring it up right now.
I got him right
Anthony
here.
Simons right here, 22.4 points per game, 4 assists, 3 boards, shooting 44% from the field, 38% from 3 on 10 attempts a game.
90% from the free throw line.
If somebody brought him up for an all-star conversation, I would laugh.
You would laugh.
That's how good the game is, man. That's what I'm trying to say, bro. Like, it's different nowadays, man. Like, it's ridiculous. It's too much. It's too much.
It is a lot of
too
scoring.
much. There's going to be so many. Oh my god, I can't express how many players that we are going to see play that are going to be completely forgotten about in 20 years.
There are
completely forgotten
45
about
players in the league averaging 20 or more points per game.
I'll name the first one who's going to be
45.
forgotten, Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony's not going to be top 25 in total scoring.
And he's supposed to be a top 10 scorer of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And he's one of those players that retired right before the era, or he's getting blackballed by the league.
If prime Carmelo Anthony played in this era,
He'd be right
I
atop the
think
scoring
he would have
leaders.
the most 40-point games in a season.
Prime
He
Melo
could genuinely
in this
have
era,
that.
oh my
If you
God.
gave Prime Melo his Nuggets team, like it's him, he's the main option, in that same exact situation that he was as a prime player, he genuinely might have 40 for half of the games he played.
But
He
now,
might drop 40
now that
for
we're
half of the
talking
games
about
he played.
this, players who were benefiting off playing in this new league, LeBron, KD, do you think it's extending their careers / legacy?
LeBron is literally out here
Because he's
dropping
averaging
40
like
and 40.
30.
Like,
He's averaging like 30.
Like, bro, do you realize how easy it is for Braun to do what he's doing right now? I was watching the game where he dropped
Oh my
48.
God.
I was watching that game on his birthday. I was watching the game on his birthday. Bro had his mom, his girl sitting courtside at the right age of 38. Bro was getting free lanes. Bro was getting fadeaways.
That's
Bro
what I'm
was
trying to
getting,
say. That's what I'm trying to say.
LeBron is literally not human. But when I think
Bro,
about
he
guys
was
like
doing
KD,
whatever he wanted.
when I think about guys like KD, when he gets up in the age 37, 38, he's a pure scorer. He's just going to be another guy that you see at the local YMCA going stupid. Like he's going to be one of those guys that you see at the Y, comes in a hoodie, tall as hell, looking at all the guys and calling everybody young bucks. That's what Kevin Durant's going to be. Like, let me show you something, Slim. And then he's just going to go stupid when he's 40 years old. LeBron James at his age, I feel like a lot of times when LeBron's driving in, half the time guys don't even want to touch him. They don't even want to contest because they're afraid that, he still might have a little bit left in the tank to dunk on me, or it might be an and one and I'm still going to end up on SportsCenter. But it's crazy. Like, Braun is thriving right now. He's chasing that scoring record. It kind of makes me sad because it's like, damn. What's LeBron going to do after he reaches the all-time scoring list? But if he's dropping 35 plus a night, that night's going to come quicker than we expected it. It might come in like 13 games to 14 games. Like it's insane. It's really crazy.
You want to know? I have a quick trivia for you guys. Okay? Did you guys know? Actually, not even trivia. I'm just going to say this. Did you guys know that one day ago, Anthony Simons had 30 on 11 of 18 shooting?
No.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Did you know that, Hoop?
I had no idea.
Yeah?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Would you think that you would find that out 5 years ago if that same game happened?
Yes.
That would be everywhere.
If this was 2016, I would.
That would be everywhere. That would be everywhere. That is how ridiculous this league is. That's what I'm trying to say, boys. Like, it's too much. It's too much. Something needs to happen with the defense, or they need to do something because it's getting boring. Nobody wants to watch these games anymore.
I agree that the defense, it's the defenders themselves, skill-wise, have not gotten worse. Between the rules,
No, I've said
and
that. I've said
schemes.
that.
Yes, I know. I agree with
said
you on
that
that point. But
Okay.
the other part of it is that there's too much star talent, and if you look at someone like, I don't know who, like Paul Millsap. God bless him.
God bless
he's
his
not.
soul.
He's not doing 20 a game in today's league.
Nothing.
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 He might be doing 20 a game, but he's not top. He's not a top 50 player. He's not a top 50 player.
He's not. He's got
multiple
He's not
All-Stars.
stepping 1 foot into my brain. If I'm talking about the All-Star game, I was just gonna say that he is not. I'm not giving him a second of thought for the All-Star game, and I love Paul Millsap. I love him, but bro, you're telling me you have the decision between Giannis Antetokounmpo or Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap. That's the difference here. Like I said, offensively we have exponentially grown, and that's why.
Right.
As a fan, I would love to see the defense, even if it's going to be slower, granted, because it's hard. It's easier to evolve offensively than it is defensively. Because offensively, you know what the next move is going to be. Defensively, you don't. I would love to see defensively the game start evolving more. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
Because we haven't seen it evolve.
I'd like to name off. This is the 2016 NBA. Oh, he's got some. What are you talking about?
I just want to say I've just received the breaking news. The NBA's All-Star fan voting has just returned. First ballots. First votes for the Western Conference. Our main man, LeGoat James, with over 3 million freaking votes for the Eastern Conference.
Whoa. Wait.
Right?
Did you just say 3 million votes in the first ballot? Or in the
for the
first
first voting
wave?
returns. First
And
voting
they
voting
removed
returns.
Twitter votes.
They used to hit those numbers. Maybe one player would hit 2 million,
Right,
2.5
right.
million in like 2015 at the end of everything, at the end of the voting. You're telling me oh my God.
Hey,
Continue.
in the Eastern Conference, Kevin Durant is leading that as well. We might get to see LeBron and KD for the first time in 6 years. Jesus Christ. Hopefully. God.
No, they were captains last year.
But KD didn't play. KD got hurt.
Oh, right. You're right.
I ain't seen
So,
these two
I'm-
face off in so long. Go
I'm
ahead.
looking at the 2016 points per game leaders. I'm just gonna start around 25.
Okay.
Like the player that order. So not the points per game. Over here they're averaging like 18 points a game in 25. Reggie Jackson, a 37-year-old Dirk, a 20-year-old Karl Anthony Towns, Chris Middleton, Nikola Vucevic, 30-year-old LaMarcus Aldridge, 37-year-old Kobe, 29-year-old Rudy Gay, Paul Millsap, Ryan Anderson. Before a 21-year-old Giannis, then we got a Drew Holiday, 35-year-old Pau Gasol, 24-year-old Derek Favors,
Hey.
hurt Derrick Rose, and JJ Redick. A 31-year-old JJ Redick is the 40th highest scorer in the league. Now I'm going to go to the 2023 numbers, starting at 25. This is around 22 points per game. Anthony Simons, Kristaps Porzingis, Bam Adebayo, Keldon Johnson, Darius Garland, Jalen Green, Kyle Kuzma, Bojan Bogdanovic, Tyler Hero, Paolo Banchero, Jalen Brunson, Jordan Clarkson, Tyrese Halliburton, DeJounte Murray. Underneath those scorers, you got Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, CJ McCollum, Terry Rozier, RJ Barrett, Devin Vassell, KPJ, Domantas Sabonis, OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, Drew Holiday, Buddy Hield, Gary Trent, Jamal Murray, DeAndre Ayton, boo. Who else? Benedict Mathurin, D'Lo, Vucevic is at 61.
That's criminal.
And there's guys under here, like Scotty Barnes is under here, Russell Westbrook. There's a lot of guys, man.
Oh my God.
This league is ridiculous. That's what bro. If you get all NBA, if you get
the league is nuts.
If you're even considered, you know what they should start adding? You know what they should start adding on NBA resumes?
What?
All-star snub. Every year they
Yeah.
pick 5 snubs. Put it on his resume because that snub would be a starter 10 years ago.
Bro, in
Put it on his resume.
2016, JJ Barea won a Player of the Week.
What? You're kidding.
I swear on
what?
my life.
What did he
For
was
the
he back
Western Conference.
on- That's criminal.
Bro,
For the
That's
Western
Brewer.
Conference.
Corey Brewer had a 50-point game on the Rockets.
That. Oh my God, bro. I don't
No,
even.
that's.
I don't even.
that's different.
I'm baffled right now. I'm so baffled.
And listen, no hate to those players back then. Like you were great for your era, 100%.
It was
you're right.
LeBron in
You're
the
right.
East and JJ Barea in the West. In April.
Yo, that's different.
Because
Hey,
April
that's
4th.
that's LeBron's biggest rival, at least in the earlier parts of his career when he joined the Heat. I could see it. The league just wanted to spice some things up for a week. LeBron and his biggest rival.
Oh,
JJ
I have a
Barea.
really good point to bring up. So you guys, when did you guys get into basketball?
20.
Like,
Go ahead, Hoop. Shoot.
well, I started watching the Knicks in like 2012. I started following more of the league in like 2014, 15.
Okay,
but I
sure,
started
2012,
following
that's
it
perfect, that's
heavy. Like,
Perfect.
Yeah, 2014,
Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember the come up of Paul George? Do you guys remember when everybody was like,
Yes.
Paul George is this
Yeah.
next superstar?
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Game
In
7.
2012, 2013, because he got his first All-Star selection, right? Paul George averaged 17 points when we were calling him the next superstar and got an All-Star selection. That's what we considered to be the next superstar. In 2012, 2013.
So I guess
we
that
considered
means-
a guy. We considered a guy who averaged 7. And Paul George, granted, great player. But I'm just saying, we considered a guy who averaged 17 points per game to be an all-star and the future of the NBA. Now let's look at NBA players who are averaging 17 points per game nowadays and see if they're going to get that same treatment. All right, so I'm going to pull it up right here. I got to scroll down a lot to get to 17 points per game. I'll tell you guys that much.
That is true.
You got to scroll down a lot to get to 17 points per game. It's the first page of players isn't 17 points per game. I have to go to the next page. I have to scroll to the next page. Okay. Now I'll give you names of players who are averaging 17 points per game now, and you tell me if they're the next superstar. Aaron Gordon. Dylan Brooks.
I hate him. with the
Dylan
passion.
Brooks had the same stats as Paul George when he received his first All-Star selection. and was dubbed to be the next superstar beside Kevin Durant and LeBron James. There's no way I'm the only person who remembers the hype around Paul George.
Yes, no,
I remember it.
you're
People
right.
were,
Yeah.
and the next season after, when he proved that he was him and he was the next thing, 21 points per game.
Right.
2014. The year before he broke his leg, when everybody was like, oh, he was a superstar, he broke his leg, that's such a hit for India. 21 points per game. No hate to Paul George. Amazing player.
Yeah.
But then you go to a season where people said he fell off. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. You know, when he lost back-to-back in the playoffs, nobody really considered him to be him anymore. 24 points per game.
Right. That
was the fall off. The fall off was 24 points per game.
Now that I think about it, it's actually crazy, like how Paul George was like hailed up like as the new king, and then after the injury, obviously this is what fans do. After injuries, they're like, oh, he's never going to be the same. I would like to make an argument that you could point to what was it, 2018, 2019? What was the year?
Yep.
Okay,
the MVP Defensive Player of the Year. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Paul George was playing his best brand of basketball. And then we're looking at the fact that he's on the team with Kawhi Leonard right now. Those two together are a dangerous duo. Like, for any team in the Western Conference, if those two are healthy in the playoffs, they're a dangerous duo. Like, they this isn't, and I mean, this version of Paul George, I would take over that 17 point per game version, because that was where we were like, he's about to prove himself. He had put the Miami Heat to 7
I would take it over his prove himself year. I would take him up the year they called him a superstar.
Thank you. Like, what the hell? That's crazy.
But listen to this. Listen how funny this is. I love how you bring up that 2018, 2019 Paul George. I was a Thunder fan, and I remember the hype around that season. We thought he could have won Defensive Player of the Year and MVP.
Mm-hmm.
He was like second in MVP, second in Defensive Player of the Year. Giannis ended up winning, right? Guess where Paul George ranks in scorers? Remember that season was impressive.
When he averaging like 28 a game that season?
He's 9th nowadays. He would be 9th today. 9th in scoring.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well,
Paul George would be 9th in scoring. We have 3 players who are one or less points per game from 30 points per game.
That's crazy.
We are a solid 35 point per game, or 30 points. We are a solid 35-point game from LeBron, Donovan Mitchell, and Kevin Durant to all 3 of those enter the 30 points per game and then have 8 different players average it.
It's crazy.
Looking at tonight's matchups, we got the Celtics, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Magic, Jazz, Rockets, and Clippers, Nuggets. How many 40-point performances will we see tonight?
I need to look at it myself, but after this, we should probably end the episode. But I'm looking at it right now. Celtics, Mavs, Luka's going for 35 plus.
Luka's going for 45 plus.
Luka's getting it. Clippers, Nuggets. Is Paul George playing?
Let me see the injury report. Yes, he started. He's projected to start.
Okay. Paul George is going to have 35 plus. Grizzlies, Magic. There will be, I think John Morant's going to have a great game. Mm-hmm. Jazz, Rockets. That's the only one that's like, I don't know if somebody, because the Jazz are the Jazz are probably the only team-oriented team where everybody gets a touch.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jazz are the only team like that. They don't have a solidified number 1 option.
Right.
So, like, you will see a 30-point from Lauri Markkanen. Oh, by the way, remember when we were considering Lauri Markkanen to be an All-Star?
I never did that.
But if we just even mention that now. But no, do you remember when
we
that
were
was
just
the thing?
talking about
like
if they were
Markkanen
still at the top of the conference, he's got to be in the All-Star game, right?
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
I think the NBA is hilarious right now, and as funny as it is now, the joke is going to get old.
So if we can just have a quick mini discussion before we exit. The talk of the best duo in the league before the season started was pretty dull. I feel like a lot of people said Tatum and Brown, or it was like, oh, healthy.
It's Kyrie
LeBron
KD for me.
What are our top 3 duos in the league?
I think number 1 is Kyrie KD. Right now, it's Kyrie and KD. They are destroying the league.
They are.
Efficiently. They're destroying the league efficiently. That's the scariest part.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'll give it to Tatum and Brown. They're amazing. And number 3, third one's hard. It's a toss-up. I'm trying to think. I think I'm forgetting
The third one is
somebody,
legit a toss-up, because I was going to go KD Kyrie for sure. 12 straight ain't no joke. Tatum and Brown is like a default. And if I wanted,
the NBA is so. Oh, sorry, go.
I was gonna say if I like Tatum and Brown are a default number 2 for me, only because the Celtics are still at the top of the Eastern Conference. So I got to give credit where it's due. And they have both been going crazy. They both had 35 the other night, or 30 plus the other night. For that third spot though, I'm gonna go for a little controversial one here. I'm going to say Luka and Doncic can be my third.
Here's the thing.
Imagine a player who was an
Luka's
MVP
a 2-1 player.
very recently, who's averaging double-digit assists over 20 points a game, and imagine
I was
him
just gonna say
paired
this.
up with a 33-point-per-game scorer who was
And
second
he's
in
on the
MVP voting last year, not even being mentioned. Joel Embiid and James Harden.
I was
Imagine.
literally just going to say that. I was waiting for Z's point to finish so I could say we didn't even mention Joel and Harden.
And
Whoa,
they
I was just gonna
have
say
been
that.
going stupid this year. I think, but the only thing is, for me was like James missed some time, and I think that they're
Sure. You know what's even crazier though? Oh, the Embiid and Harden. You're like, oh, how do we forget about Embiid and Harden? You're not even thinking about Fox and Sabonis.
Right.
You're not even thinking about teams like
Right.
that. You're not even mentioning DeRozan and Levine. You're not even.
You're
and I'm
not
not
even
saying they deserve to be
mentioning
mentioned. Kawhi
Brunson
and Paul
Randall,
George.
right?
Yeah, you're not even mentioning. You're not like you're not mentioning. But we didn't even mention PG and Kawhi.
right. That was
I was
just
thinking
finished
about
talking
it. I didn't think y'all want to talk about
Kawhi's like he literally said it. He was like, I don't want to be here tonight.
I'm just gonna
looking
sit
forward
on
to
my
the-
take until the
to the
playoff time.
playoffs.
I think he's
I'm
serious.
We
He doesn't
didn't
care about
even-
regular
we
season.
didn't even
He's got Jimmy
begin.
Butler mode.
We
He's got
didn't
Jimmy
give
Butler.
one word toward Giannis and Middleton. That's how good
Because-
the NBA is now.
right.
We didn't give one
But
word.
Middleton's
towards them.
kind of
Jimmy
Or
and Bam is a good duo
Holiday and
too.
Giannis. Jimmy and Bam. I forgot about that.
Right.
I forgot about that.
The league is just so
Beal and
damn
Porzingis.
talented.
Beal and
Oh,
Porzingis
no.
might not be top 10. No, I'm saying Beal and Porzingis might not be top 10. That's how good the NBA is.
Yeah.
A duo of Beal and Porzingis 6 years ago
Would have
we
been.
would mention. Yeah, would have been, but we don't even mention it now. That's my point. But I think we should end the episode here. The point of this whole episode was that Jeff Teague doesn't. No, I'm joking. I love Jeff Teague. This is a great episode. I think at the end of it, we all came into agreement.
Yeah. It was a big kumbaya.
I think we came into agreement that we need Jeff Teague on the next episode.
Oh God.
We do need Jeff Teague. I need to bring Jeff Teague in here and be like, bro.
How do you feel that you would not be a
Respect?
top 150 player in today's NBA?
Kyle Korver was an all-star in 2015, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, and we'll see you for episode 40.